OPPO just announced their newest flagship, the Find X5 Pro, skipping over the 4 and jumping straight to the 5. Believe it or not, the number 4 is actually seen as unlucky within the Chinese culture, so it makes sense why they would jump over it. Plus, the X5 just sounds better. Thanks to OPPO, I've been using this phone for the past few weeks and I'm here to give my thoughts. It's got a lot of fantastic new features, improvements on the cameras, and their own self-designed imaging chip called the Merisilicon X. But in the grand scheme of things, is this the right phone for you? That's where we're going to find out. The Find X5 Pro comes in ceramic white or a glazed black, both of which showcase the curves of the phone amazingly. I went with the white model because it's been a while since I've owned a white smartphone and I think I made the right choice. It does do a better job at hiding those oily smudges and fingerprints, plus a white device is way easier to spot in the distance if I ever misplace the phone. I also really love the build material that OPPO used. The back is made out of microcrystalline ceramic with a matte glass texture that is twice as hard as glass, so I never had to worry about any scratch marks or fingerprints, and I really love the curved unibody on the back. It makes the phone look futuristic, especially with the curves leading up to the camera module. It does have a bigger camera bulge than the X3 Pro, but it's still not as noticeable and not as big as some other flagships out there. It also says powered by Merisilicon in small font, since this is carrying OPPO's new imaging NPU to improve nighttime videography, but we'll talk about that more later on in the video. Overall, the design of the phone is spectacular. It's got a really organic and elegant design which feels nice to hold, and it's also a bit heavier than its predecessor, making it a nice premium feel in hand. For that cherry on top, it's still water resistant as well with an IP68 rating. Now when using this phone, that big 6.7-inch display really caught my attention. It's got everything you'd want, including Quad HD resolution, 10-bit support, and HDR10 Plus, which is perfect for watching your favorite TV shows or YouTube videos. There's even a new software feature called O1 Ultra Vision Engine, which upscales low-quality images and videos so that you can fully take advantage of that Quad HD resolution. From what I could tell, the difference is minimal and it doesn't support every app out there, but it's still nice to see those minor visual improvements. It's also got an adaptive 120Hz refresh rate for buttery smooth gaming sessions or when navigating the interface, Corner and Gorilla Glass Victus to provide the utmost protection against accidental drops and scratches, and on bright sunny days, the display has no problem getting bright enough for me to clearly see what is going on. At its peak brightness, it could reach 1300 nits. So it's a terrific screen, but the only thing I will say is that at 6.7 inches, it can be a bit too big to hold and use with one hand. Luckily, ColorOS 12.1 makes the interface easy to use with one hand. For example, while I'm on the home screen, I can swipe upward on the corner to pull down every icon towards my finger. They also have a dedicated one-handed mode feature that lets me swipe down on the nav bar to bring down the entire screen, and a lot of the system screens already lowered down their menus and buttons to make them easier to reach. Small attentions like that really make the software experience that much better. And now I already reviewed ColorOS 12 back in October, and I'll drop that video in the cards if you want to check it out. But real quick, some of the new ColorOS features that I really enjoyed using were Portrait Silhouette to let me have an outline of my face be within the always on display. Perfect for selfies or couples. There's also wallpaper-based themes to let me have my settings, quick settings, system apps, and other elements match the colors of my wallpaper. Emoji to let me create a 3D animated emoji that looks very similar to myself and even follows my facial movements. I can even use it on my always on display or profile picture. These new beautiful live wallpapers that are exclusive to this phone look astonishing and let me fully take advantage of that 10-bit screen. And a ton of improvements for your privacy and security. Real quick, I'm impressed with this new security feature called anti-peeping for notifications, which uses AI to sense when other faces are watching my screen. When it detects a peeper, it hides the details of any incoming notification. A handy way to outsmart nosy people. There are a ton more spectacular ColorOS features where that came from. Again, if you want a full overview of ColorOS 12, click that eye in the top right corner. When navigating and using the Find X5 Pro, it feels so much faster and smoother than its predecessor. It had no problem handling anything I threw at it, from opening apps, to playing extremely intense 3D graphic games, to even doing simple stuff like scrolling. It was even quick to unlock the phone with both the fingerprint sensor and face unlock. It all makes sense when you learn about what's under the hood. It comes packed with the all-new Snapdragon 8 Gen 1, providing 30% better performance than the previous generation. The phone also has 12GB of RAM, 120Hz refresh rate, and OPPO's newly designed imaging chip called the Mirror Silicon X for better and faster video recording sessions. We'll talk about that in a second though. Overall, performance is top notch right beside the Galaxy S22 Ultra. The cameras are where the Find X5 Pro really flourished though. It's using the same rear sensors as before, but a few improvements were still introduced. For one, OPPO worked with Hasselblad to provide better natural color calibration, and they updated the camera software interface to replicate a Hasselblad camera experience with the integrated leaf shutter sound. That's pretty satisfying. They also had the rear camera lenses be glass instead of plastic to help reduce chromatic aberration. They improved the stabilization by using a 5-axis OIS within the primary lens. And unfortunately, they did remove the micro lens, which I was a bit saddened about. But then again, I never really used it too often anyways. It was just more of a look at what my phone can do kind of feature. Now the photo quality really caught my attention. In almost any lighting circumstance, the Find X5 Pro did a fantastic job at providing lots of detail, excellent dynamic range, great sharpening and contrast, and even provided one of the best color accuracies that I have seen in a smartphone in a while. Nighttime shots were also brightened up well, not too much or too little, right in the middle so that anyone could tell that you took the picture at night. One small tweak that the cameras like to do is lighten up the shadows whenever there's too much shadowing within a scene. That way you can see objects that would have otherwise been hidden. It really helps to bring every element within the photo to life. For all of my selfie lovers out there, the front camera sensor was able to capture a lot more light thanks to the new imaging chip, and at 32 megapixels, OPPO didn't cheap out. So your selfies will look detailed and clean. Finally, the videos looked amazing. They always had excellent stabilization, great colors and detail, plus I had no problem recording at 4K for long periods. Other phones that I've used in the past would have overheated and just stopped the recording a few minutes in. That's not a problem with the Find X5 Pro. When recording at night, the results were also really good. Scenes were brightened up well and the noise was brought to a minimum. I will say that there is still a bit of softening going on, but still a better job when compared to the iPhone 13 Pro. And it's all thanks to OPPO's new imaging chip called the Mirror Silicon X. For those wondering, it's a 6nm NPU that uses AI computing power to accomplish nighttime videography with real-time raw processing. Plus, it allows for HDR video to be captured in 20-bit to better reflect the scene that you are capturing. Pretty awesome. Overall, OPPO did a fantastic job with the cameras. On the Find X5 Pro, they really pushed it to capture anything that is in front of you as true to the eyes as possible, and I think they nailed it. As for the battery life, it did last a bit longer than its predecessor thanks to the bigger capacity, but it still provided average results. Like any other person, I like to check social media regularly, answer any emails or messages, maybe play a few games when I'm bored, and watch a TV show or two when I'm laying in bed or laying down. Typical. And with this type of usage, the Find X5 Pro would usually last me around 5 to 6 hours of screen on time. Not bad, but not jaw-dropping. It also had no problem lasting me the entire day. But what did really impress me is their improvements that they made on the charging. First off, OPPO still includes a brick in the box, which is already a plus because some smartphones nowadays don't really include that anymore. But what's even better is that their Super VOC charger now supports a higher charging speed of 80 watts. That's insane. You can literally charge the phone from empty to 50% in just 12 minutes. I honestly still can't wrap my head around that. They also developed a new wireless charger called the AirVOC, which supports a charging speed of 50 watts. That's also insane for a wireless charger. OPPO said that it could juice up the phone in just 47 minutes. Now, I don't personally own that custom charger, so I'm just taking OPPO's word for it, but at 50 watts, that sounds about right. Also, for those wondering, it still comes with reverse wireless charging. In the end, the OPPO Find X5 Pro has a lot going for itself, but it's not going to be a cheap device, and it's only going to be released in the following countries that you see on the screen. But for the price tag, you get a lot of great advantages, including a futuristic looking design, big beautiful display, fantastic cameras, breakneck charging speed, and a lot more. You'll have a great experience and you won't regret your purchase, especially if you're coming from a phone that is 2 to 3 years old. If you're coming from last year's phone though, it's a much harder sell. And that's because last year's Find X3 Pro was already a fantastic device. I'll throw up all the significant new differences so that you can get a clear idea of how much the X5 Pro has improved over its predecessor. Personally, I think the most significant improvements are the cameras, charging speed, and performance. And even though these changes are major, I don't think it's enough to justify dropping so much money if your phone is only just a year old. You're going to have an extremely similar experience. Either way, that's my review of the OPPO Find X5 Pro. Let me know in the comments what you think of this phone and if you plan to pick it up for yourself. I'd really love to hear your thoughts. Also, it would mean the world to me if you can drop a thumbs up on this review if you enjoyed it, and maybe even get subscribed with the notification bell turned on if you really loved it. I make quality videos like this every week, so you're not going to want to miss out on the fun. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Kapow!